very good morning to you, good afternoon, good evening, depending on where you are watching us from. This is the Confab on Esteem Radio Vision. And don't forget that we are located at Obokun Avenue, Elisha, in Ocean State. As usual, my name still remains Chidima Abel. And this morning, Nigeria's political, moral, and security landscapes are all under intense pressure, and the signs are impossible to just ignore them. On the political front, the ruling All Progressives Congress continues to tighten its grip on power as opposition parties lose further ground. Now, the defection of Plateau State Governor Caleb Mutfwang adds to a growing list of high-profile political realignment, raising serious questions about the future of opposition politics, internal party democracy, and whether ideology still matters in Nigeria's political system. Now, away from that, beyond politics, the country's religious space is facing another moment of reckoning. A prominent Pentecostal pastor has stepped aside amid multiple sexual allegations as the Pentecostal Fellowship of Nigeria, PFN, considers possible sanctions. Now, while supporters dismiss the claim as extortion, the unfolding controversy once again brings accountability, moral authority, and institutional responsibility within religious leadership into sharp focus. And while power shifts and moral debates dominate public discourse, violence continues to stalk communities across northern Nigeria. Fresh attacks by terrorists and bandits have left dozens dead in northern Nigeria. Even in the wake of foreign airstrikes targeting extremist groups, the renewed killings, destruction of communities, and the disturbing language now used by insurgents has raised urgent concerns about the effectiveness of current security strategies and the human cost of continued instability. These three stories, political consolidation, moral scrutiny, and deepening insecurity, may appear on our headlines. But together they tell a larger story about the state of the nation, about power in motion, trust under strain, and lives caught in the middle. This morning, I won't be discussing this topic alone. I have my analyst with me. I have Ohunayo, Ajiboye. You are welcome this morning on the Confab.
Thank you very much, Chidima.
How are you doing?
I'm doing fine. And you got my name right for the 5th time, so that's 5,000 naira. I'm counting.
You actually counted the number of times I've gotten your name right.
I'm counting how many times you get my name right.
Okay, that's a fantastic one. So, I have already shed a light to the three stories we'll be discussing this morning. The very first one borders on APC. APC controls 28 states as Plateau governor defects Caleb Mutfwang. Opposition parties in the country lost further ground on Friday following the defection of the Plateau State Governor, Caleb Mutfwang, to the All Progressives Congress APC. Mutfwang's defection comes on the heels of a similar move by Rivers State Governor Similai Fubara, who joined the ruling party on December 9. Kano State Governor Abba Yusuf was also said to be on the verge of joining the APC following a protracted crisis within the Nigeria's People's Party. The Kano State chapter of the APC, which confirmed the governor's imminent exit, said he was expected to join the party in the coming days. And there are different sides to look at in the story: collapse of opposition structures, politics of survival over ideology, then the impact on democratic competition, also the ripple effect across the state, and also the long-term consequences. Why the APC gains numerical strength, the erosion of opposition may ultimately weaken democratic accountability and fuel voter apathy. Now, let me come to you, Ohunayo. What political or strategic factors may have influenced Governor Caleb Mutfwang's decision to defect at this point in his tenure?
Well, thank you for that question, but one thing I want to note here is that there's no political strategy here.
There's no political strategy.
It's not. What is happening is that we've seen what happened. Now, you made mention of Governor Similai Fubara. We saw what happened with Fubara in Rivers State. How a sitting governor was suspended by the president unconstitutionally. And now he's now defecting to the same party that the president belongs to. Come on, it doesn't take a genius to put two and two together. What has been happening in the political space in Nigeria now is that we are currently on a thin line crossing over to becoming a one-party state. That is what's happening. It's not a political strategy. We've seen what happens because the truth of the matter is allegedly a lot of these governors that are defecting have a lot of skeletons in the cupboard. And what we have seen allegedly is that APC as a party, when you have a governor that is linked to one sort of skeleton or dark secret or the other, what happens is that when they defect to the APC, all sins are forgiven. That's what's going on now. So it's not a strategic factor at all. What is going on is that we are seeing the APC taking over states in preparation for 2027. So this is about destabilizing the opposition. This is about making sure that there's no voice for the opposition. This is about securing all states in order to make it a shoe-in. This is APC planning to have a shoe-in election. It's not going to be a contest. It's not going to be a competition. It's just going to be straight up APC.
Okay, let's now look at it, about the significance. How significant is this claim that APC now controls 28 states? And what does this really mean for the balance of power ahead of future elections?
Well,
Looking at
the significance
2027.
of this claim is the fact that it's a grand gesture. You know, in The Heart of War by Sun Tzu, it is said that you can win a battle without throwing a single stone. That is the psychological battle. So the significance of that claim is a psychological battle against the opposition. APC is telling the opposing parties now that we already control 28 states. We are in charge. There are 36 states and we're already in charge of 28. What are you going to do? We have won already. So it's a psychological tactic at this moment. And what this means for the balance of power ahead of the future elections is that the public is aware. The public is watching. And this is going to lead to a lot of discouragement. People are going to be, what's the essence of coming to vote? They are in control of 28 states. And like I said, in Nigeria, people always go back to historical analysis. They go back to the past because the past will always repeat itself. So the analogy here now is that people are going to be discouraged because they will feel that their votes can't count. And so what this is going to mean for the balance of power ahead of future elections is that 2027 election is going to witness a lot of voter apathy.
And that spells doom on the nation, if you ask me. Okay, now the defection follows closely after that of River State Governor Similai Fubara. Does this suggest something? Does this suggest a coordinated political realignment or individual survival strategy? Could we say the APC is kind of united, or just individual survival strategy?
I'll go with the latter, individual survival strategy.
Okay, why would you say that?
So far, so good. For the past decade that APC has been ruling this country, there has been no ideological development. Nigeria as a whole, we don't have an ideological vision. So there's no ideology. If there's no ideology within a party, then what are you talking about political realignment? There's no alignment. There's no ideology to align with. What is happening is that these governors that are defecting are trying to save their own skin because it's looking like 2027 is a shoe-on for the APC. So what they want is to be part of the ruling party so that all sins can allegedly be forgiven. That's what the situation is right now. There's no realignment. It's just survival strategy.
Okay, now we report that Kano State Governor Bayusif may also defect. How deep is the crisis within opposition parties?
The crisis within the opposition party now is not just internal destabilization. It's the fact that there are no structures in place to prevent such things. Nigeria is the only country I've seen where a political office holder can just defect willy-nilly, no procedures, no structure, no arrangements in place. And this has been going on for quite a while, but in this particular regime, it's become so rampant, so bad that a lot of voices have been rising up and saying, no, we need to have a structure. It can't just be happening like this. And now the reports of Kano State Governor Abba Yusuf trying to defect or may also defect now is showing that if this particular situation is not managed, where any political office leader, any political office holder can defect to any party without any structure in place, without any procedure being followed, if it is not managed, it's going to lead down to doom, not just for the opposition party, but for the country as large. Because a country without structure or system is definitely heading to become a failed state.
So there's a possibility of escalation.
There's a possibility of escalation.
Now, what are the possible implications of these defections for opposition unity and even democratic competition in Nigeria?
Well, like I said before, what is going to lead to is going to lead to zero opposition, zero competition. What we are heading towards now in view of what is happening in light of these defections, is that we are heading towards a one-party state.
Oh my
And the one-party state is a slippery slope, because one-party state is like an invitation to tyranny, to dictatorship. I'm not saying it leads to that 100%, but in most cases, that's the potential. And I don't want Nigeria to head down that road.
So now, what's your advice to, if you had the opportunity to, throw an advice to the government of the day, what would that advice be?
Well, this is not an advice to the government, because as we have seen, this is not a governmental issue right now. It is a governmental issue actually, but now it has to do with the parties themselves. The parties never took the opportunity to protect themselves. Contracts should be legally binding. When you become a member of a party, especially a flag bearer of a party, there should be legally binding contracts on you, especially with regards to defection to other parties. It's not like you will not be allowed. After all, there's freedom of choice. But there should be legal contracts in place to forestall such things, so that this kind of internal destabilization will not be happening to the opposition parties, when the ruling party is using their influence and every other means to draw as much governors, as much senators, as much political office leaders to their party, because they are in charge of the executive. It should not be happening this way. So my advice is not going to be to the government, but to the parties. You need to have contracts drawn out. You need to have structures put in place to prevent this kind of things from happening again.
Okay, thank you so much. Away from that, because of our time, we'll be moving over to the next headline here that says scandal. Popular pastor steps down as PFN moves sanctions. The senior pastor of the Mountain of Liberation America's ministry, Chris Okafor, has stepped down. Finally, he has stepped down from pastoral duties amid growing outrage over multiple sexual allegations against him. In separate interviews, several members of the church, however, dismissed the allegations, describing them as desperate moves by individuals trying to extort money from their man of God. You can see the way it is spelled out there, from their man of God. Now, the pressure to step down as the allegations escalated on social media in recent weeks. I believe you've been following the story, with more women coming forward with different narrations, gathered that respected leaders in the Christian community pressured Okafor, Pastor Chris Okafor, to step down in order to, douse the tension. After several women has come out to, say one or two things about him, now the PFN had to do something about it. Remember, in one of our episodes, somebody said PFN should come in, CAN should come in. That's Christian Association of Nigeria. The things like this shouldn't be happening, especially after his wedding. People were like, somebody came out, that was actress Doris Ogala. She came out to say some things about this man of God. Should the wedding have taken place? People said all of these things. Now, PFN has actually taken a step. So that's what we'll be looking at this morning, as allegations escalated on social media in recent weeks, with more women coming forward with different narrations. It was gathered that respected leaders in the Christian community pressured Okafor to step down in order to douse the situation. Now, a senior executive of the Pentecostal Fellowship of Nigeria, who is so close to the pastor, confirmed this. The source explained that the festive period has slowed down deliberations with the PFN on the scandal, as meetings could not be convened to formally discuss the matter. Now, if we are to elaborate the story, we'll be talking about power, accountability in religious institutions. The case highlights how influential leaders, religious leaders, often operate with limited oversight, raising questions about internal accountability mechanisms, public trust versus loyalty of followers. The sharp contrast between public outrage and the defense mounted by the church members reflects the deep emotional and spiritual loyalty followers have to charismatic leaders. Now, the role of umbrella bodies like PFN, like Christian Association of Nigeria, the PFN's slow response, partly due to the festive season, as they claim, underscores structural challenges in enforcing discipline across autonomous churches. Now, also the social media as a pressure tool. The role of online platforms in, amplifying allegations shows how digital spaces now, drive accountability. Now, we also have the broader implications for the church. Now, coming over to you, Ohunayo. what circumstances led to Pastor Chris Okafor stepping down from pastoral duties? And was this decision, voluntary or influenced by external pressure?
Well, thank you for that question. You know, with this Chris Okafor case, I was not expecting to come back to the confab and meet this again, because the man has, in fact, it's like the man wanted to trend more than Jesus Christ during the Christmas season. But this is the thing. With regards to the question that you asked, definitely it's not voluntary. It's due to external pressure. You know, the first time we discussed Pastor Chris Okafor's case, we mentioned something about the court of public opinion. And what is going on is the escalation of public opinion now. The public opinion has gotten to a stage where PFN could no longer ignore it. And that's the difference between religious bodies and the Nigerian government. You see, the Nigerian government, the public opinion can condemn and condemn and condemn and condemn, and nothing will be done, because the government has this sort of immunity so long as they are in that role, so long as they are in power. But when it comes to religious bodies, well, it's a delicate situation because of the faith of the people, because of people's mental, their psychological sense of reasoning, their psychological makeup. When it comes to where you have a renowned or influential man of God being involved in scandals, okay, one scandal is already an issue. Then you get 2, you get 3, you get more coming up. It's not about if he's innocent or not now. It's about public opinion. It's about how the people will see the church. It's about how the body of Christianity is, how Christianity as a religion, as a faith, and as a body is being perceived. So what you get is, you get situations where the accused is being asked to step down for a while so as to de-escalate the situation. Because the truth of the matter is, if Pastor Chris Okafor refuses to step down, the problem is going to escalate more. You're going to get more accusations. Now, the truth of the matter is, at this moment, you cannot tell which is true or which is false anymore. And that's going to lead to more and more and more stain being thrown at the Church of God. So I feel the stepping in of PFN, asking him to step down for now, is to de-escalate the situation. So the decision was not voluntary. It is external pressure for him.
So you believe what PFN did is the right thing?
For now, to de-escalate the situation, yes.
But now, how credible are these sexual allegations against the pastor? You know that some of the church members have publicly dismissed them as extortion mechanism, extortion attempts. Now, how do we balance it?
We can't balance it actually at this moment, because when the first allegation came up with Doris Ogara, like I said, public opinion was divided. Public opinion was more fair in that case than it usually is.
So who did it favor more?
What usually happens when such cases are reported is that public opinion will stand by the side of the woman. But what we got was public opinion was divided. Majority actually wanted the case to be tried fairly. People were not quick to jump into judgment. But when it eventually came out that Pastor Chris Okafor apologized, meaning he eventually succumbed and showed that, he was the one in the wrong. That kind of put him at a disadvantage, because immediately after that, different allegations started springing up. Now, he could no longer defend himself. It's no longer a case of he said, she said. It has now become a case of one person against multiple allegations. Now, the truth of the matter is, it's going to be possible that all allegations are false, or some allegations are right, or all allegations are right. But we are not the ones to judge that. That should be tried by the competent body, by the competent legal practitioner, by the competent structure made for such. But the problem is that the public opinion, the court of public opinion, does not care what the law says. The court of public opinion does not care who's guilty at this moment. The court of public opinion will go with what's trending. And that is the fact that he has already shown himself to have been wrong once. And you know what they say? He's wrong once means he's wrong forever in the court of public opinion.
Okay, we won't be dwelling much on this very headline, but one more question before we wrap it up on that very headline. What broader impact could this case have on accountability, on leadership, and public trust within Pentecostal churches in Nigeria?
Well, the broader implications of this is the fact that I believe the PFN moving forward is going to have to implement serious and more, tough structures, especially when it comes to ordaining pastors within the Pentecostal body, ordaining pastors, and it's going to be a slippery slope, because there's going to be age limits, there's going to be a lot of things put together, you know. Before, the Pentecostal body was seen as the liberal side of Christianity, and now they've started being tough as the Orthodox churches. Not to say the Orthodox churches don't have their own issues or problems, but what you're going to see is that they are going to start implementing more policies that are going to be tougher and that before, you know, before you can become a pastor, for ministers, for church leaders, for religious leaders within the Pentecostal body. That is what this is going to lead to. And now on the broader church, you're going to have some Pentecostal members who are going to question their faith. Some are going to go back to the Orthodox way, because they believe that at least the Orthodox church doesn't have as much scandals as the Pentecostal. So that's what's going to happen. What's going to happen is some people will lose their faith, and some will find their faith through these trials. And you know, some will have more ammunitions. People that have been attacking the church are going to have more ammunition to attack the church more. That's just what the broader implication will be.
All right, if you're just joining us, this is the Confab. If you're just watching joining us on the show, this is a Confab on Esteem Radio Vision. Okay, now moving away from that very story, we have terrorists dare Trump. Terrorists dare Trump. Kill scores. Armed groups have intensified their attacks across parts of the northern Nigeria following United airstrikes targeting Islamic State-linked militants in Sokoto State. Findings reveal that no fewer than 47 people have been killed and 35 kidnapped between December 25th and January 2nd, 2026. Some of the attacks were carried out in communities in Adamawa, Zamfara, Kwara, Plateau, Nasarawa, Yobe, and Kano State by bandits, ISWAP, and Boko Haram fighters. Now, there have been renewed attacks. However, monitoring of security incident between this December 25th and January 2nd shows an escalation in violence, with communities coming under renewed assault. On Wednesday, it was reported that a security analyst by the name Brian Phillips said ISWAP raided a village, killing 11 hostile Christians. Just look at the word hostile. Christians destroying a church and over 100 houses and capturing their properties. This is coming from ISWAP. Now, this is the first time ISWAP refers to a group of Christians as being hostile, following its cap using the same wording recently. Now, a former United States Secretary of State in the person of Mike Pompeo in a post on X urged Trump to conduct a follow-up strike to increase the pressure on terrorists. Now, elaborating the story, escalation despite foreign intervention, the surge in attacks following U.S. airstrike raises concerns about retaliation tactics, and whether external military action alone can deter insurgents. Now, we also have the multiplicity of violent actors, the overlapping activities of bandits, ISWAP, Boko Haram blur the lines between criminality and ideological terrorism, complicated security responses. We also have the symbolism of targeting communities, the destruction of churches, and the labeling of Christians as hostile signals a dangerous shift towards ideological justification of violence, the civilian vulnerability, the casualty figures highlighting the continued exposure of rural communities to attacks, kidnappings, and displacement with limited protection. Now, this calls for further U.S. strikes as they pointed out here. How have recent U.S. airstrikes targeting Islamic linked militants in Sokoto influenced the surge in attacks across northern Nigeria?
Well, the first thing I'm going to state is that there's no surge in attacks. What happened was when the U.S. forces coordinated with Nigeria and launched that first attack on Christmas Day, you saw that what happened was like there was a pause, a shift in the attack. Otherwise, on Christmas Day, the casualties would have been more. They would have been in their hundreds, not in their tens, not in their 60s. It would have been in hundreds and thousands of lives and properties lost. But what happened was because of the United States airstrike, they had to like calm down, and then subsequent airstrikes like that, it destabilized them. What we are seeing now is the Islamic forces, the militants, the terrorists, the bandits, whatever they are, trying to make a show of force, trying to say we're still here, you didn't get rid of us. So as the headline says, it said they are daring Trump. They are trying to tell Trump, like, you're going to stop your attacks or we attack more. But the truth of the matter is, if the US airstrikes never happened, these attacks would have still happened. And they would have happened way earlier.
Okay, now, so what would you have to say about the 47 people and the kidnapping of 35 others within 1 week, say, about the current state of security in the region?
It's not saying anything about the current state of security except that it's still what it used to be. In fact, I would say the casualties reduced because the numbers we used to hear...
The casualties reduced?
The casualties are reduced because the numbers we used to hear, and I'm playing devil's advocate here because I know the viewers and listeners, a lot will not agree with me because they will feel these are human lives. But the truth of the matter is that to the Nigerian government, human lives have just been numbers. Because for them to take this long, to take the attack to the terrorists, do you know how many lives have been lost without the government doing anything? This past few decades, we have been fighting this insurgency and insecurity in this country. So I'm playing devil's advocate and saying that, no, at this moment, the casualties are actually reduced. 47 people, 35. We used to hear of casualties in their hundreds and thousands. But at the same time, it doesn't mean that the killings are not a tragedy. They are still a tragedy. And we are hoping for as much as possible that the government is proactive in reducing such things happening, because if the government had been proactive at the first, if the government had taken an hard stance on this, instead of negotiating with terrorists, Nigeria is the only country that ever negotiates with terrorists and also rehabilitates terrorists. Which nation on earth ever rehabilitates terrorists? And that kept giving them more and more. You know, it's funny that you have our gallant military men fighting terrorists, dying, and then the same terrorists that killed them will be said to have been rehabilitated.
So instead of negotiating with them,
and then let me land. And then these so-called rehabilitated terrorists will now be incorporated into the Nigerian army. And we have seen cases where this Nigerian army personnel come out and they complain that the rehabilitated terrorists are the one now leaking information to their militant brothers, causing serious breach of information protocols and strategies, making more gallant soldiers lose their lives.
So instead of negotiating with them or rehabilitating them, what do you think the government should have done?
A total wipeout.
Total wipeout.
Total wipeout.
Which is?
Which is, the terrorist groups should never have been allowed the chance to grow this far. They shouldn't have been allowed to stay this long.
So now that we've grown this far, what can the government do?
Now, what the government has to do is to take a hard-line tactic against them. It's going to be tough. It's going to be hard. It's not going to be easy because there will be casualties. There will be casualties. There will be damages. And in some cases, it might even be more than the previous casualties. But if these terrorists and insurgents are not stopped, if they are not stopped, if we allow them to grow further than this, well, we might as well not have a nation anymore.
Okay, now, talking about a swap. You know, they reportedly described some Christian victims as hostile for the first time. What is the significance of these shifts in language?
The significance of the shift in language is their response to Donald Trump's attack, because they see Donald Trump as a Christian, as the voice of Christian leadership around the world now, because America is traditionally a Christian country. Even if culturally they are no longer Christian, it is still traditionally regarded as a Christian country. And you know, Trump's reason for taking the fight to the terrorists in Nigeria, operating in northern Nigeria especially, is for the genocide, is for the attack, the massacre of Christians in northern Nigeria. So they are responding to her by calling Christians hostile, because now they no longer want to hide under the ideology of it's just land clash, it's just ethnic clash. Now they are coming out finally to say, yeah, our war is against Christians. That's why they are tagging Christians as hostiles. So it's them coming out for real now and stating that their war is truly against Christians, not what the Nigerian government has been covering it up as. Calling it a clash because of land, calling it a farmers-herders clash. Now they are coming out and telling you straight up that this is not farmers-herders clash. This is a religious ideology crisis. And that is what Nigerians have been shouting. That is what the world has been saying, but the Nigerian government kept denying it until it turned into a fire that is burning us under right now.
Okay, one last question before we call it a day. You know, with calls from figures like Mike Pompeo for further U.S. strikes, what are the risks and the benefits of increased foreign military involvement in Nigeria's security crisis?
Well, let me start with the benefits first, because the benefit is obvious for us.
At ways.
The increased foreign military involvement right now, the only benefits we have is that it will be faster because of their technical help and in terms of reconnaissance. As we have seen, Nigerian intelligence agency, Nigerian military forces, Nigerian security forces are terrible at gathering credible intelligence that can be used to curb this insecurity and attacks. Meanwhile, the foreign military intelligence seems to be top tier. And I'm using the word seemingly because I believe deeply that Nigerian security forces can do better if they want to. If they want to, I believe they can do better. But with the presence of the foreign security forces, I believe that they are being galvanized to doing better. That's the benefit I see. Now, the risk is that the prolonged presence of foreign military forces is going to definitely lead to a lot of argument and a lot of discomfort with regards to Nigerian sovereignty. Because too much military interference, especially foreign military interference in our own affairs, is going to lead to, you know, to more of our military officials, you know, ceding authority to foreign military leaders, and that is not good in the long term. That is the risk that's associated with this. But right now, what we need is the coordination, is that combination, is that cooperation between both forces, working as hard as possible to ensure that we clear out, to ensure that there's no more attacks, to ensure that no more terrorism in the country as fast as possible. Because if it is prolonged, well, that's when the risks start showing up. But if it can be done as fast as possible, then we will only see the benefits and no risks.
Okay, before your parting remark, this is where we'll be wrapping up the show. But don't forget that these stories may unfold in different spaces, but they point to the same reality. Power is shifting, and trust is being tested. Security remains even fragile as events continue to unfold and evolve. The questions they raise will demand more than headlines. They will demand accountability, clarity, and action. Okay, before we wrap it up, I believe you have a parting remark, an advice to the viewers out there. What's your parting remark?
My parting remark is for the government. The government has to be proactive, especially the federal government of Nigeria, led by the President Bola Ahmed Tinubu. You need to be proactive at this moment. We can't keep allowing this loss of lives. We can't keep allowing these insurgents, these militants to keep killing and getting away with it. No more rehabilitation, no more negotiation. It is time to eat them where it's hot. And 2026 is the year to do that.
Thank you so much, my analyst, Ohunayo Ajiboye. I think I got that name right.
Yes, you did.
Thank you so much for your deep
but
insights.
You're not getting an extra 1,000 for that anyway.
Okay, at this point, we want to say thank you to our viewers. We also want to appreciate all the human resources that made this program a successful one. We want to appreciate our CEO in the person of Dike Michael Adeboye Ashaolu, the founder of Eniakwole Foundation and Esteem Division. Thank you so much, sir, for what you do. And also to our producer, Falabi Adenikbekun, thank you. You're doing a great job. May God bless you. And also, once again, to our viewers, we want to say another thank you to you for choosing Esteem Radio Vision. Make sure you stay loyal to Esteem Radio Vision and continue to like, comment, and share our program. Stay loyal. Until I come your way again, I still remain Chidima Abel.